More than 2,000 years ago, in the golden era of ancient Greece, a blind poet named Homer, alongside the most celebrated authors, playwrights, and historians of his time, captured timeless stories of gods, heroes, and mortals. These tales, passed down through generations, are what we now know as Greek mythology. They spoke of the great heroes who roamed the land, the powerful gods who ruled from the heights of Mount Olympus, and the mortal men and women whose fates were forever altered by their encounters with the divine. Who was Zeus, the mighty king of the gods? And why did he turn against his father in a ferocious battle for supremacy? What drove him to unleash a catastrophic flood that nearly obliterated humanity? How was mankind created by Prometheus? And why did the horrors of the world escape from Pandora's box? What awaited the souls of the dead in the dark realm of Hades? And how were terrifying monsters like the Hydra, the Cyclops, and Medusa defeated by legendary heroes? From the 12 labors of Heracles to the epic Trojan War, the myths offer answers to these questions and reveal the full, dramatic tapestry of Greek mythology. The story begins at the dawn of creation, when there was nothing but chaos, a vast, empty void, silent and infinite. From this abyss emerged Gaia, the earth, and Eros, the embodiment of love, whose presence began to shape the formless universe. They were soon joined by night and day, whose perpetual cycle brought light and shadow to the cosmos. As balance began to take shape, Tartarus, the deepest pit of existence, came into being, a realm where the souls of the condemned would one day suffer eternal punishment. Gaia, the nurturing force of creation, gave life to Uranus, the sky. Together, earth and sky brought forth their first children, the Titans, 12 powerful beings, 6 sons and 6 daughters. Among these were Oceanus, the mighty river encircling the world, and Hyperion, the fiery sun who carried daylight across the heavens in his golden chariot. When night fell, Hyperion's daughter, Selene, illuminated the darkness, her silver glow casting tranquility over the sleeping earth. Yet, beneath this celestial harmony, unrest brewed. Uranus, tyrannical and paranoid, feared the potential power of his children. He confined the Titans deep within Gaia, their cries of anguish echoing through her very being. Enraged by her partner's cruelty, Gaia devised a daring plan. She forged an unbreakable sickle and gave it to her youngest and boldest son, Cronus. When Uranus descended to lie with Gaia, Cronus struck, severing his father's power and casting it into the churning sea. From the foaming waves where Uranus's essence fell, Aphrodite, the radiant goddess of love and beauty, emerged. With Uranus defeated, Cronus ascended the throne, ruling over the cosmos with his Titan siblings. Yet, like his father before him, Cronus was haunted by a prophecy. One of his own children would rise against him and take his place as ruler of the universe. Consumed by fear, Cronus resolved to prevent this destiny. As each of his children was born, he swallowed them whole, trapping them in the dark confines of his stomach. Rhea, Cronus's sister and wife, was devastated by the loss of her children. When she became pregnant with her youngest, Zeus, she devised a clever ruse to save him. Wrapping a stone in swaddling cloth, she presented it to Cronus, who devoured it without hesitation, believing it to be the infant. Meanwhile, Zeus was spirited away to the island of Crete, where he was hidden and nurtured by Gaia until he reached manhood. As Zeus grew, so did his strength and determination. When the time was right, he confronted Cronus and forced him to regurgitate his siblings: Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon. Together, the 6 siblings waged war against Cronus and the Titans, a battle that shook the very foundations of the earth. This conflict, known as the Titanomachy, lasted for 10 years, with neither side gaining a clear advantage. To turn the tide, Zeus sought allies. He descended into Tartarus and freed the 100-handed giants and the Cyclopes, who had been imprisoned by Uranus long ago. Grateful for their liberation, these ancient beings joined the Olympians. The Cyclopes, legendary craftsmen, forged powerful weapons for the gods. Zeus's thunderbolt, Poseidon's trident, and Hades' helm of invisibility. Armed with these divine tools, the Olympians finally triumphed. The Titans were defeated and cast into Tartarus, their anguished cries echoing through the abyss. Atlas, who had led the Titans in battle, was singled out for a unique punishment. Zeus condemned him to hold the sky upon his shoulders for all eternity, a burden unmatched in its weight and severity. However, not all Titans suffered such fates. Themis, the Titaness of law and order, and Prometheus, the visionary who had sided with Zeus, were pardoned and allowed to live among the Olympians. With their victory secured, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades divided the cosmos. Zeus claimed dominion over the heavens, ruling from Mount Olympus. Poseidon took command of the seas, wielding his trident to stir the waves and calm the storms. Hades, stoic and somber, became the lord of the underworld, where the spirits of the dead would reside. Together, the siblings established a new order, ruling as the 12 Olympians over mortals and immortals alike. Though the Titans were defeated and Zeus claimed victory, the world he now ruled remained incomplete. Among the Titans spared was Prometheus, whose name meant forethought. Observing the earth, Prometheus saw it populated by beasts, creatures of instinct with little purpose. Dissatisfied, he resolved to create something greater, a being in the image of the gods. From clay and water, Prometheus sculpted mankind, breathing life into his creation and watching as they took their first steps. Yet, these mortals were fragile and ignorant, huddling in caves for shelter and trembling in the darkness of the night. Prometheus, filled with compassion for his creation, decided to empower mankind. He ascended Mount Olympus and stole fire from the gods, a sacred flame that would grant humanity the ability to cook, forge tools, and build civilizations. When the fire reached mankind, it transformed them. No longer helpless, they emerged from their caves, mastering their environment and rising above the other creatures of the earth. Zeus, however, did not share Prometheus's vision. He saw humanity's newfound strength as an affront to the divine order. Furious at Prometheus's defiance, Zeus devised a punishment as eternal as the Titan's crime. Prometheus was captured and chained to a desolate mountainside. Each day, an eagle descended to feast upon his liver, and each night, the organ would regenerate, only for the torment to begin anew. This endless cycle of suffering served as a grim warning to any who might dare challenge Zeus's authority. Yet Zeus's vengeance did not stop with Prometheus. Determined to punish mankind for their insolence, he devised a plan to bring suffering into their world. Zeus commanded Hephaestus, the divine blacksmith, to craft a being of unparalleled beauty. From the earth, Hephaestus molded the first woman, and the gods bestowed their gifts upon her. Aphrodite granted her grace and charm. Hermes gave her eloquence, and Zeus himself endowed her with insatiable curiosity. She was named Pandora, meaning all gifts. To Pandora, Zeus presented a sealed jar, warning her never to open it. The jar contained both blessings and curses, a balance of the forces that would shape the mortal world. Pandora was then sent to Earth as a gift to Epimetheus, Prometheus's brother. Despite Prometheus's warnings to distrust gifts from the gods, Epimetheus was captivated by Pandora's beauty and welcomed her without hesitation. For a time, Pandora and Epimetheus lived in harmony. Yet Pandora's curiosity grew stronger with each passing day. Unable to resist, she eventually lifted the lid of the jar. In an instant, a dark cloud erupted, releasing all the evils of the world: disease, envy, greed, and suffering. Horrified, Pandora slammed the lid shut, but it was too late. Only one thing remained trapped inside: hope. Though the world was now filled with hardship, hope ensured that mortals would endure, finding strength to persevere even in the face of adversity. This marked the end of the golden age of man, a time when mortals lived without care or sorrow, their needs provided by the abundance of nature. With the escape of suffering and old age, the perfect harmony of this era was shattered. The Silver Age followed, an era defined by arrogance and ingratitude toward the gods. Mortals began to neglect their worship, and the divine grew distant. Next came the Bronze Age, an age of war and bloodshed. Humanity, consumed by greed and power, forged weapons and waged endless battles, drawing Zeus's ire. Disgusted by mankind's descent into violence, Zeus resolved to cleanse the earth entirely. He sought the aid of his brother Poseidon, god of the seas, and together they unleashed a great flood upon the world. Poseidon struck the depths of the ocean with his trident, creating a wave so vast it engulfed mountains. Torrential rains poured from the heavens, and violent winds swept the waters, submerging cities and drowning all but the highest peaks. Humanity was all but erased, with only two mortals surviving: Deucalion, the son of Prometheus, and Pyrrha, the daughter of Pandora. Prometheus, foreseeing the flood, had warned Deucalion and instructed him to build a sturdy ark. As the waters rose, the pair climbed aboard their vessel, drifting alone through the endless seas. They mourned for the world that had been lost, their ark finally coming to rest on Mount Parnassus, the last peak untouched by the flood. When the waters receded, Deucalion and Pyrrha prayed to the gods for guidance on how to rebuild humanity. The Titan Themis, known for her wisdom, answered their pleas. She instructed them to cast stones over their shoulders as they walked. From the stones thrown by Deucalion sprang men, and from those cast by Pyrrha, women emerged. Humanity was reborn, cleansed of the sins of its past. As the world settled after the Great Flood, the reborn humanity faced a second chance. With the sins of their predecessors washed away, they could forge a new path, one guided by hope and resilience. Yet, Zeus's watchful gaze remained fixed upon them, ever ready to intervene if mortals strayed once again into arrogance and chaos. Zeus, now firmly seated on his throne atop Mount Olympus, ruled as the king of the gods. His symbols, the thunderbolt and the eagle, became omens of his immense power. The skies were his domain, and his moods shaped the weather. A furious Zeus could summon devastating storms and lightning, while a pleased Zeus brought clear skies and prosperity to the earth below. The Greeks revered him as the greatest of all the gods, offering sacrifices and prayers to ensure his favor. Those who honored him were blessed, but those who defied him often suffered his wrath. Though Zeus was mighty, his personal life was tumultuous. As king of the gods, he sought a queen to rule by his side. His first wife was the nymph Metis, the goddess of wisdom. However, Metis became pregnant, and Zeus was warned by his grandparents, Gaia and Uranus, that her child would one day overthrow him. Determined to escape this fate, Zeus swallowed Metis whole before she could give birth. Yet, the child within her, Athena, refused to be contained. Over time, Zeus developed a searing headache, so unbearable that he begged Hephaestus to split his head open with an axe. From the wound sprang Athena, fully grown and armored, a radiant goddess of wisdom and war. Athena's birth marked the beginning of a new era for Olympus. She became one of Zeus's most loyal allies, guiding heroes with her wisdom and offering her strategic brilliance in times of conflict. Zeus would go on to marry other goddesses, but none could quell his wandering eye. His final wife, Hera, became the queen of the gods and the goddess of marriage. While Hera was deeply revered, her union with Zeus was fraught with strife due to his infamous infidelity. Time and again, Zeus pursued both mortal and divine lovers, fathering countless children, many of whom became legendary heroes and gods. Hera, consumed by jealousy, often turned her wrath on Zeus's lovers and their offspring. One of her most famous acts of vengeance was against Heracles, the son of Zeus, and the mortal woman Alcmene. From the moment of Heracles' birth, Hera sought to destroy him. She sent serpents to his crib, but even as an infant, Heracles displayed extraordinary strength, strangling the snakes with his bare hands. Hera's animosity continued throughout his life, driving Heracles to perform the 12 labors, a series of nearly impossible tasks that tested his courage and endurance. Zeus's infidelity also gave rise to Europa, a mortal princess who became one of his most famous lovers. While she was picking flowers by the shore, Zeus transformed himself into a magnificent white bull to approach her. Enchanted by the bull's beauty, Europa climbed onto its back, only for Zeus to leap into the sea, carrying her to the island of Crete. There, Zeus revealed his true form, and Europa bore him 3 sons, including Minos, who would become the king of Crete and the keeper of the Minotaur. Another of Zeus's lovers, Leto, gave birth to the twin gods Apollo and Artemis. Hera, enraged by Leto's pregnancy, forbade any land from offering her refuge during childbirth. After wandering across the earth, Leto finally found sanctuary on the floating island of Delos, where she delivered her children with the help of sympathetic goddesses. Apollo and Artemis grew to become 2 of Olympus's most powerful deities. Apollo, the god of light and prophecy, established the Oracle of Delphi, where mortals sought guidance through cryptic prophecies. Artemis, the goddess of the hunt and the moon, pledged herself to eternal chastity and protected the wilderness with unmatched ferocity. The gods' influence extended far beyond Olympus, shaping the mortal world in profound ways. Athena, in particular, was known for her guidance of heroes and her wisdom in disputes. When she competed with Poseidon for the patronage of a great city, each god presented a gift to its people. Poseidon struck the earth with his trident, creating a saltwater spring, a symbol of his power over the seas. Athena, however, planted the first olive tree, a source of food, oil, and wood. The people deemed her gift superior, and the city was named Athens in her honor. Not all mortal interactions with the gods ended favorably. Arachne, a gifted weaver, dared to boast that her skill surpassed even Athena's. Offended, Athena challenged her to a contest. Both produced magnificent tapestries, but Arachne's work, though flawless, mocked the gods and their flaws. Enraged, Athena destroyed Arachne's tapestry and struck her down. In her grief, Arachne hanged herself, but Athena took pity on her and transformed her into a spider, destined to weave for eternity. The gods' passions and rivalries often spilled into the mortal realm, causing both chaos and inspiration. Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty, played a particularly mischievous role, meddling in the lives of mortals and gods alike. Her charm was irresistible, but her actions often led to unforeseen consequences. When she caused the Trojan prince Paris to fall in love with Helen of Sparta, her interference set the stage for the Trojan War, a conflict that would shape the destiny of mortals and gods alike. Emerging from the split in Zeus's forehead was Athena, the daughter Metis had carried within her. Fully grown and adorned in radiant armor, she stepped forth as the goddess of wisdom and war, instantly claiming her position among the Olympians. Zeus's second wife was his aunt, Themis, the Titaness of law and justice. She had turned against her fellow Titans to ally with Zeus during their war. Together, they had 3 daughters who wielded extraordinary influence over mortal lives. Known as the Fates, these sisters governed destiny itself, weaving the threads of life that shaped the journey of every soul. The youngest of the sisters, Clotho, was called the spinner for her role in spinning the thread of life for every mortal at birth. It was through Clotho's immense power that new souls came into existence. Her elder sister, Lachesis, known as the Alata, measured each thread with her rod, determining its length and shaping the key events of a mortal's journey. Finally, the eldest and most formidable sister, Atropos, known as the Unturning, wielded mighty shears. When a mortal's destined time had run out, it was Atropos who severed the thread, bringing their life to an end. Zeus would take many more wives, fathering a host of gods and goddesses. However, his 7th and final wife was his older sister Hera, the goddess of women and marriage. With Hera, Zeus found a queen to rule alongside him, but his infamous infidelity did not cease. Even after their union, the king of the gods continued to pursue other women, often resorting to clever disguises to win their favor. As a result, Zeus became the father of countless children, linking him to nearly every god and hero in Greek mythology. One of Zeus's many loves was Europa, a princess of Tyre and sister to the renowned hero Cadmus. One day, while Europa gathered flowers along the coast, she caught Zeus's eye. Enamored, the king of the gods devised a plan to claim her without drawing Hera's suspicion. Transforming into a magnificent white bull, Zeus descended to earth. Entranced by the bull's beauty, Europa climbed onto its back. But the moment she did, Zeus charged into the sea, galloping across the waves as Europa clung to his horns in terror. To calm her, Zeus revealed his true identity, assuring her she was in the presence of the king of the gods. The journey ended on the island of Crete, where Zeus himself had been hidden as a child. There, Europa bore Zeus several children, among them Minos, the legendary king of Crete and keeper of the Minotaur. In honor of his love for Europa, Zeus named the land they stood upon Europe and immortalized his white bull form in the heavens as the constellation Taurus. Hera, the wife of Zeus and queen of the gods, was venerated as the protector of marriage and women, holding a position of great respect in Greek society. Yet, despite her divine stature, she was infamous for her vengeful and spiteful nature, often fueled by Zeus's endless infidelities. Their union was far from harmonious, as Hera's wrath was constantly provoked by her husband's affairs. Among their children, only 2 of the 12 Olympians were born from Hera herself: Ares, the god of war, and Hephaestus, the god of craftsmanship and fire. The others were the offspring of Zeus's numerous liaisons. One of Zeus's most brazen affairs involved Io, a devoted priestess of Hera. To protect Io from his wife's wrath, Zeus transformed her into a striking white cow when Hera arrived to investigate. However, the queen of the gods was not deceived. Realizing she had caught Zeus in the act, Hera demanded the cow as a gift. Zeus, knowing refusal would confirm her suspicions, reluctantly agreed. Hera then imprisoned Io in a cave under the watchful guard of Argus, a monster with 100 eyes. Argus was the perfect sentinel, able to rest half his eyes while the others remained vigilant. Too fearful of Hera to act directly, Zeus sent Hermes to rescue Io. The cunning messenger god used his musical talents to lull Argus to sleep. Playing his pipes and singing soothing melodies, Hermes waited patiently until all of Argus's eyes closed. Only then did he draw his sword, striking down the beast and freeing Io from captivity. As a tribute to Argus for his loyalty, Hera took his 100 eyes and placed them in the tail of her favorite bird, the peacock, making it a symbol of her divine power. However, her vengeance against Io was far from over. She sent a relentless gadfly to torment the cow-shaped maiden, driving her to the brink of madness as she fled across the land. Io's long journey gave her name to the Ionian Sea, the waters she traversed, and to the Bosporus, meaning ford of the cow, marking her passage. At last, Io reached the Nile River in Egypt, far beyond Hera's reach. There, Zeus was able to restore her human form. Io later bore Zeus a son, Epiphus, who became a progenitor of many of Greece's greatest heroes, including Perseus and Heracles. Leto, another of Zeus's lovers, faced the full wrath of Hera's jealousy. When Hera discovered that Leto was pregnant with Zeus's twins, she unleashed the great serpent Python to pursue and torment her. Desperate and vulnerable, Leto fled across Greece, seeking a safe place to give birth. Yet Hera's influence extended far and wide. She forbade any city from granting Leto refuge. From Athens to Crete, Lemnos to Samos, no land dared defy the queen of the gods. At last, the floating island of Delos offered sanctuary to the weary Leto. However, Hera's scheming continued. She confined Eileithyia, the goddess of childbirth, on Mount Olympus to prevent Leto from delivering her children. After 9 agonizing days and nights of labor, the other goddesses, moved by pity, intervened. They freed Eileithyia, enabling Leto to finally give birth. She named her children Apollo, destined to become the god of archery and light, and Artemis, the goddess of the hunt. Both would rise to join the ranks of the Olympians as powerful deities. After Apollo and Artemis were born, cities across the ancient world held grand celebrations in their honor, with Thebes hosting the most extravagant festivities. Yet one voice rose in defiance of these tributes, Queen Niobe, whose beauty was rivaled only by her arrogance. Mocking Leto, Niobe boasted that her own 14 children, 7 sons and 7 daughters, made her far more deserving of such honors. Her words, filled with hubris, enraged Leto, who found it intolerable for a mortal queen to insult her so brazenly. In her fury, Leto sent her children, Apollo and Artemis, to punish Niobe. From the heavens, the twins unleashed their vengeance. Apollo struck down all of Niobe's sons, while Artemis claimed the lives of her daughters. Left utterly alone, Niobe fled to her homeland in Sipylus, overcome with grief. She wept uncontrollably, begging the gods to end her suffering. Zeus, moved by pity, transformed her into a massive stone, granting her an eternal release from her anguish. Known today as the Weeping Rock in western Turkey, Niobe's tears are said to flow endlessly, visible whenever rain falls and water streams through the porous stone. Apollo, the younger of the divine twins, was celebrated as the god of archery, light, and music. His influence extended to prophecy, a power he demonstrated at Mount Parnassus. There, the fearsome serpent Python, which had pursued his mother Leto, had taken refuge. Seeking to avenge his mother, Apollo unleashed a hail of arrows from his golden bow, slaying the beast. On the very spot where Python fell, Apollo erected a grand temple, establishing it as the sanctuary of the Oracle of Delphi. The Oracle, known as the Pythia, became one of the most revered figures in ancient Greece. From humble farmers to mighty kings, people from across the land sought her guidance. Acting as Apollo's mouthpiece, the Pythia would enter a trance-like state, induced by vapors rising from the earth, and deliver cryptic prophecies. Her frenzied utterances, though often perplexing, shaped the decisions of individuals and empires alike. After vanquishing the great Python with a barrage of golden arrows, Apollo's pride soared. Proclaiming himself the greatest archer of all time, he scoffed at Eros, the youthful god of love, who wielded a much smaller bow. Mocking the child, Apollo declared him unworthy of such a weapon. Humiliated and seething with anger, Eros vowed to teach Apollo a lesson about the true power of his bow. As Apollo wandered by the river Peneus, Eros spotted a perfect opportunity for revenge. He aimed a gold-tipped arrow at Apollo, striking his heart and igniting an intense love for Daphne, the river god Peneus' daughter. But Eros wasn't finished. He shot a lead-tipped arrow at Daphne, ensuring she would feel nothing but disdain for Apollo. Overcome with desire, Apollo approached Daphne, who recoiled in horror and fled into the woods. Ensnared by Eros' spell, Apollo pursued her relentlessly, using his divine speed to close the distance. Desperate, Daphne called out to her father for help. Hearing her cries, Peneus answered by transforming his daughter. Her limbs grew heavy, her skin hardened into bark, and her flowing hair turned to leaves. In moments, Daphne became the first laurel tree. Stricken with sorrow, Apollo swore to honor her forever. Using his divine power, he made the laurel's leaves evergreen, their vibrant hue never fading. From that day forward, Apollo adorned himself with a laurel wreath, keeping the memory of Daphne alive in his heart. Apollo's most renowned child was Asclepius, a healer of unmatched skill whose abilities were so extraordinary that he could even resurrect the dead. This miraculous power, however, angered Hades, as it upset the natural balance by depriving the underworld of its rightful souls. Concerned about this disruption, Zeus intervened, striking Asclepius down with a thunderbolt to restore order. Devastated by the loss of his son, Apollo pleaded with Zeus for mercy. Moved by Apollo's grief, Zeus revived Asclepius and elevated him to godhood, making him the divine patron of healing and medicine. Asclepius's legacy would continue through his children, including Hygeia, the goddess of cleanliness and health, whose name gave rise to the word hygiene. Artemis, the twin sister of Apollo and goddess of the hunt, was a masterful archer who safeguarded both hunters and the balance of nature. As a goddess of the moon and one of the three eternal virgins alongside Athena and Hestia, Artemis was fiercely protective of her purity, punishing anyone who threatened it without hesitation. One such incident occurred when Actaeon, a hunter and grandson of Cadmus, accidentally stumbled upon Artemis while she bathed in a secluded forest glade. Outraged by this intrusion, the goddess acted swiftly, transforming Actaeon into a stag. His own pack of 50 hunting dogs, unaware of their master's fate, pursued and tore him apart in a gruesome and merciless end, a punishment befitting his unwitting transgression. Poseidon, the brother of Zeus, commanded the seas from his grand palace beneath the waves. Known as the Earth Shaker, Poseidon wielded his powerful trident to stir the oceans, calm the waves, and unleash devastating earthquakes. His wrath was legendary, and one of his most severe punishments fell upon Minos, the king of Crete. When Minos refused to sacrifice his prize bull to Poseidon, the god cursed Minos's wife to fall in love with the animal, leading to the birth of the infamous Minotaur, a creature half man, half bull. Though Poseidon typically ruled his aquatic domain, he occasionally grew resentful of Zeus's authority on Olympus. Together with Athena, Hera, and Apollo, he conspired to overthrow the king of the gods. Their rebellion, however, ended in failure. As punishment, Zeus sentenced Poseidon and Apollo to serve King Laomedon of Troy. For an entire year, they labored to construct the city's towering and impenetrable walls, which would later endure the onslaught of Greece's most formidable warriors during the Trojan War. Athena, the goddess of war and wisdom, born to Zeus and Metis, was celebrated for her fondness for strategists and clever heroes, often guiding them through their greatest challenges. A proud and determined goddess, she sought to make her mark on the world by vying for the patronage of a prominent city in eastern Greece, which had yet to be named. Her competitor was Poseidon, her uncle and god of the sea. Each sought to present the city with a gift that would secure its devotion. Poseidon struck the ground with his mighty trident, causing a stream of water to burst forth. However, the water was salty and unsuitable for agriculture, leaving the city's people unimpressed. Athena, on the other hand, placed her hand upon the earth and produced the first olive tree. This remarkable gift offered sustenance, with its fruit providing nourishment and its oil serving countless purposes in cooking, medicine, perfume, lighting, and athletics. The practical and versatile nature of her offering won the favor of the people. With Poseidon conceding defeat, the gods declared Athena the victor. In her honor, the city was named Athens, destined to become a beacon of culture, wisdom, and power in the ancient world. Athena, credited with the invention of mathematics, also nurtured a love for music, creating instruments like the trumpet and flute. As a patron of artists and craftsmen, she held a deep pride in her weaving abilities, a talent that eventually led to a fateful rivalry with a young girl from Libya named Arachne. Arachne, renowned for her extraordinary skill, boasted that her weaving surpassed even Athena's, challenging the goddess to a competition. Each wove a tapestry depicting the gods, determined to outshine the other with their artistry. For hours, the contest raged as they worked with unparalleled precision and creativity. When the tapestries were complete, Athena was stunned to find Arachne's work superior to her own. Enraged by the humiliation, Athena struck Arachne repeatedly, causing the girl to collapse. Yet instead of taking her life, Athena transformed Arachne into the first spider. From that moment on, Arachne's talent for weaving lived on in the intricate web spun by her descendants, the creatures we now call arachnids, whose name serves as a lasting tribute to her skill and fate. Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty, emerged from the severed remains of Uranus, making her the eldest of the Olympians. Known for her mischievous nature, she often wielded her powers for personal amusement, influencing Zeus to pursue mortal women, much to Hera's fury. As the embodiment of attraction for gods and mortals alike, Aphrodite was frequently accompanied by Eros, known to the Romans as Cupid. With his enchanted arrows, Eros could inspire passion in anyone, spreading love or chaos throughout the world. One of Eros's most infamous targets was Narcissus, a strikingly handsome young man burdened by overwhelming vanity and pride. He relished rejecting the many admirers drawn to his beauty, caring little for the hearts he broke. Among these was Echo, a nymph cursed by Hera to only repeat the words of others after she had become the object of Zeus's attention. Despite her deep affection for Narcissus, Echo's attempts to confess her love ended in humiliation as Narcissus cruelly dismissed her, shattering her spirit. Consumed by grief, Echo wasted away until nothing of her remained but her voice, which continues to echo through the world today. Nemesis, the goddess of retribution, witnessed Narcissus's cruelty and decided to deliver justice. When Narcissus bent down to drink from a lake, he was captivated by his own reflection, falling deeply in love with the image he saw. Mesmerized, he spent days and nights gazing into the water, unable to pull himself away. Realizing his love could never be reciprocated, he finally took a dagger and ended his life. From the spot where his blood touched the earth, a delicate flower bloomed, the first Narcissus. To this day, the term Narcissus derives from his tragic tale of self-obsession. While some, like Narcissus, were consumed by their love for themselves, others, such as Pygmalion, searched tirelessly for an idealized version of love. A gifted artist from Cyprus, Pygmalion grew disillusioned with real women after years of failed romances. Resigning himself to solitude, he channeled his passion into his art, creating a masterpiece that would embody his vision of perfection. Pygmalion began sculpting a statue of a woman, pouring all his effort and skill into the project. Day after day, he painstakingly carved intricate details, shaping her delicate features and crafting every strand of her hair with unmatched precision. When the statue was finally complete, it was breathtaking. No living woman could rival the beauty he had brought to life in stone. But admiration soon turned to despair. Pygmalion found himself longing for the touch of the lifeless figure, holding her cold hands and pressing kisses to her unyielding lips. The more time he spent with his creation, the more he realized that no real woman could ever compare to his idealized vision. Night after night, he prayed to the gods, pleading for a miracle to bring his creation to life. Moved by his devotion, Aphrodite, the goddess of love, decided to grant his wish. As Pygmalion prayed, the statue began to transform before his eyes. Her hair softened into flowing locks, her marble skin warmed, and her once rigid form turned to flesh and blood. Looking up, Pygmalion was stunned to see his perfect woman smiling back at him. The goddess had answered his prayers. The statue, now alive, introduced herself as Galatea and stepped gracefully down from her pedestal. Overcome with joy, Pygmalion embraced her, his years of loneliness and longing finally at an end. Together, they began a life filled with the love he had dreamed of but never thought possible. Aphrodite, ever willing to aid those in search of true love, granted Pygmalion's heartfelt plea. The once inanimate statue came to life, introducing herself as Galatea. She stepped gracefully off her pedestal and into Pygmalion's arms, ending his long years of solitude and filling his life with the love he had only dreamed of.